Arrows Education, for those who are aware and for those who are not aware, this is majorly for you. Arrows is an international education consulting organization. We have, I would say, presence in Nigeria and in Malaysia, but we are covering 30 countries. We are covering 30 countries. I think what you see there, the last item there is that, yeah. So it's supposed to be 30 plus countries. Okay. So we're covering 30 countries, and we are in partnership, we're working in partnership with more than 1,000 universities. So I would say, no matter the course you are interested in studying, no matter the field, the discipline, I'm sure you are covered. So I just want to remind everyone of that. We're also into research consulting and international student recruitment for universities and colleges. So that's what Arrows does. And this session that you are attending today, for those who might be joining for the first time, or maybe for a time that they've not been introduced, we do this regularly, sometimes once in a month, sometimes twice, just as an information session to give back to the society, provide you with information that can empower you to take the journey on your own if you want to, and to also let you know how we can support you if you want us to. So that's about Arrows. And about studying abroad, I want to remind us that this year, yes, many people are going to be asking some of these questions on the screen. Where should I study? How much is tuition? How much do I need for proof of fund? When will I need it? When should I apply for admission? So many questions. Generally, because we have more than 100 countries in the world. So now let's say, okay, we are covering 30 of these countries. It's impossible to tell you, to answer this question specifically for every course, every program, and every school in every country that we are covering. So the general advice that I will usually give to people is, depending on which country you are going, think in terms of the currency of that country, and I'll give you the figure 10. Put any currency behind it. So if you want to go to the UK, put the pound sterling behind it. You want to go to Canada, put the Canadian dollar behind it. So wherever you want to go, just put the currency behind it, and that will give you an idea of how much you should be thinking of in terms of tuition. Living expenses, I would say maybe another like that, but usually living expenses, you have control. So you can choose to share apartment, cook your own meals. So with those, you can actually cut down a lot on living expenses. So I wouldn't want to put a figure on living expenses, but if you want to also think of it in terms of where you are going to study, put 6 to 7 behind, put the currency behind it, and that'll give you an idea. So altogether, that means you have to be thinking in terms of 17 to 25,000 for both tuition and living expenses in whichever country you want to go. It can be much cheaper than that in some countries, but this is just a general idea of what you may want to be looking at. So how much is tuition? I think I've answered that. So how much do I need for proof of fund? Proof of fund, usually as a matter of standard, is the total of your living expense and tuition and other costs that you may need to pay. So let's say your tuition is 15,000 and your living expense is 10,000. That means you are going to need 25,000 as proof of fund. When will I need it? You will need it depending on the policy of the country. For example, if you're going to study in the US, you need the proof of fund at the point of application. If you're going to be studying in Canada, you need the proof of fund at the point of applying for visa. If you're going to be studying in a few other countries, you may not even need proof of fund. Some countries don't actually request for proof of fund. So it depends on which country you are studying. But if we are looking at UK, US, Canada, Australia, yes, you're going to need proof of fund. 3 months in the US, 4 months in Canada, 1 month in the UK, and I think 3 months in Australia. So, and what that means, let me explain. It is not, you cannot put money in your bank account in the month or week that you're going to need the proof of fund. So when I say if you're going to the US, you need 3 months proof of fund, what that means is that if you're going to study in the US, you want to make application in March, or let me say April 2024, you're going to put in your application. It means that your proof of fund should read, let's say your tuition and living expense is $25,000. So your proof of fund should show 25,000 US dollars in your account since January 2024 till March 2024. I hope that's clear. 3 months of that same amount sitting in your bank account for the period demanded by the country. So if it's Canada, you need it sitting there for 4 months. If it's UK, you just need it sitting there for 1 month. So if you want to make plans, that can help you in planning for how to raise the fund. And if you're going to know whichever way you intend to raise it, if it's business money, it can be very difficult if you need to continue doing your business to let money sit down in one place and not doing anything. So that can help you to plan so that you can know how to target the timing. And so when should I apply for admission? It depends. You have to think of the proof of fund and the visa to plan applying for admission. For example, if you want to go to the US, you want to study in the US and you want to resume let's assume that you want to resume by September 2024. It's already February now. Now, let's say this is when you want to start planning. That means you have already lost February. So let's say your proof of fund, you start to raise it now. Then you need March, April, May. So by May, you're going to have your proof of fund ready for your application. So you can make your application at the end of May or around middle of May. And then let's say it takes a month, or let me put it 2 months for processing. That means the rest of May and June and part of July, you're going to need that to process admission. It means that you cannot meet up with September, because after your admission letter comes to, you need to apply for visa, and applying for visa, no one can guarantee you when you're going to get opportunity for visa interview. So you need to work backwards from when you intend to attend school. So if you are looking at, say, January next year, February next year, April next year, my advice is start from now, because you need to raise the fund, make the application, get the offer. All of this takes time. And then after the offer, you can now apply for visa, and you never know how long the immigration is going to take before they issue you a visa. So sometimes you apply and then they call for more documentation. Even the admission process too, they may call for more documentation, and that takes a lot of time out of the time you have. So start as early as you can. Start immediately. Do I need the English test? Yes and no, depending on the course you want to study and the country you come from. If you are from an English-speaking country where the official language is English, and you have studied in English from elementary school to university, usually you will be exempted from English test. But even when you come from a country like that, if you want to study English-related courses or sometimes medical courses, they may insist that you should provide English test. So you need to check. It's on a case-by-case basis. There are no blankets. Although for us, arrows will usually help to plead your case. If you are from an English-speaking country and maybe the institution is putting a blanket, everyone must provide the English test, we actually will go into conference with them and argue your case that you shouldn't have to. And I think almost all the cases we've had like that, we have succeeded. So I'll say Just let's know what your case or situation is, and then we can see how that goes for you. Can I study and work? Yes and no. In some countries you can, in some countries you cannot. In some of the countries where you can work in maybe in the public places, any organization that will offer you a job. In some countries, you can only work on campus. So it depends. You need to find out what the policy is in your country of study. And then some people have been asking also, how will I survive? And I remember a parent was asking, if I look for money, I borrow money here and there, and I send this child out to maybe the US or Canada, will the child be able to survive there after getting there? And I don't need to bother myself again. I will say no and yes. No, because what it takes to settle down to survive in a foreign country can sometimes be much more than what a child that is just leaving home for the first time can grapple with. And we usually like to advise parents as much as possible. If you are the person in question, oh yes, you know how you can organize yourself, plan your way. In fact, you might decide you are not going to sleep, you are just going to be working, and until you can make as much as you need for covering your expenses. But when you are sending out a child, it can be very challenging, and many times children have missed their ways because of the pressure of dealing with finances. So over time, they may be able to. And then, children are also different one from another. Some are very, very agile out there. They can make connections easily. They can, explore. And today we have a lot of kids, young, but they are exploring online remote jobs. They are making good money doing remote jobs. So if your child is someone like that, or if you are someone like that, I would say by all means, you can survive financially because you can work online. You can actually be studying anywhere and be working in the US or UK and be earning in pound sterling or USD. You can take care of your expenses if that's your situation. But if that is not, it may take you time to settle down. Now, you also need to bear in mind that all the countries have conditions. Some of them, you can only work for 20 hours per week. Now, even if you're a postgraduate student, for example, let's say at the very best, you are earning, say, $15 per week, per hour, and you are able to gross your 20 hours per week. Multiply that by 15. That's $300 per week. If you work every week of every month, that's about $1,200 per month. For one full semester of about 4 months, you are going to be making, say, about 3 months, I think. That's what it usually comes to. That's going to be about $3,600 from your work. Now, when you think of how much you need to pay for tuition and living expense, I'll leave you to figure out if that's enough and what you can do to meet up. Can I get scholarship or grant? Yes, you can. There are so many scholarships and grants out there. You may need to do some job to get them. Sometimes there are opportunities in some schools for international students, but in most cases, there are so many merit scholarships, but you need to resume and register as a student for you to access many of them. So my advice is think of what you can do to get yourself out there. Then you will be able to access a lot of opportunities the moment you are out. Also, there are a few announcements that we have. Last time, I think I also mentioned some of them. There are some policy changes around the world that applies to international students, and it may be very important for you to pay attention, especially if you are planning to go to any country now. So starting from September this year, postgraduate students are going to be, that's if you studied for masters, you're going to be getting 3-year post-graduation work visa by the time you graduate. So what that means is you'll be able to live for an additional 3 years after your study in Canada. And during that period, it is hoped that you will have enough time to work, gain experience, find a permanent job, and then you can apply for your permanent residency and start working towards your citizenship. Then, but that's starting from September this year. And then there are also many other policy changes that I will say it is safer for you if you are not looking at going in for September. Please hold on. If you are thinking of any time before September, please hold on for now, because too many policy changes are happening in Canada, and you may know it may be very challenging if you get yourself on the wrong side of any policy. So, but for those that are already in their programs, they have already moved over to Canada, nothing changes. Whatever conditions were in place when you went in still holds for you. And then for also another change has happened to spouse work permit. Previously, if you are a student, you're studying in Canada, and your husband or wife wants to come to join you, they can apply for work permit to come and support you. So they will get official work permit and they can travel to Canada to work and support you. But now that opportunity is cut off for anybody that is not studying master's or PhD. So if you're going to be doing postgraduate diploma, what it means is that your spouse is not covered for work permit again. And then also another change is about the post-graduation work permit, which I told you is going to be 3 years now for master's students. For postgraduate students generally from September. And but now it is only restricted to public institutions. So when you are making a choice of institutions, please be careful so you don't get into trouble. Normally, we will cover that for you if you are applying through AROS. And then now there is another policy about attestation certificates that will determine whether the province you are going to has the right to take in additional students. And that has to come before you can apply for visa. So please, these are all issues that you need to take cognizance of so that there will be no problem. There are no more visa for dependents for master's students in the UK, but if you're a PhD student, I think you can still get. So please take note of that. And then there is a mass cancellation of enrollment that is going on in Australia at the moment. We're not yet sure what the details are, but I think if you are thinking about Australia, please be mindful of that. And recently, Malaysia made a new policy about post-graduation work permit. So now if you studied in Malaysia, you can get a 1-year visa to look for a job after your studies. Unfortunately, Nigerians are excluded from that opportunity. I'm sorry. So there is nothing we can do about that. It's beyond us. So these are some other announcements. There are some job opportunities and research opportunities for those who might be interested. So this is a remote job, but for someone who has experience with research and is willing to commit to research. So you can see the details there. If you are interested, you can ask AROS to send you this flyer so that you can maybe take all the information that you need, and then you can apply if you want to. And the second one by the side is an opportunity for a master's by research or PhD. So if you're interested in doing a master's by research or a PhD, this is an opportunity. This is for studying in Malaysia. So this is an opportunity for you. I think all you need to do is send your CV with your preferred research area to AROS, and then that will be it. I think I will want to also add to that for those who might be interested in that, it may be a good opportunity for funding in the future. AROS will discuss that with you if you are interested. Okay, so let's go on to Hungary. That's our focus for today. So Hungary, you can see it on the map there. It's in the heart of Europe. It's in Central Europe, just surrounded by so many nations around Europe. The capital is Budapest, and the currency is the Hungarian forint with the symbol HUF. Population is about 10.1 million people. I think that would be the size of the villages of some of us. So it's a very small country. And for those who might be interested in studying in Hungary, there's a very vibrant student life there. You can work while you are studying, I think 30 hours a week. It's a very popular EU study destination. That is European Union. And it's the country that has the lowest cost of living in the whole of European Union. The culture and architecture is also very rich. And you can get a post-graduation work permit of 9 months after you graduate for you to look for a job. And according to the information we have, the graduate uptake rate is very high. You can get a job within 3 months. And they also have a lot of multinational companies there that are willing and ready to take you up, but the competition is keen. So what that means is from before you go, you have to make up your mind to be excellent, because you're going to be competing with others who have also made up their mind to be excellent. So that will be something very important to pay attention to. These are some of the courses that are covered in some of the schools that AROS represents. So medicine, dentistry, medical courses generally, business courses, computer science, engineering courses. These are all at all levels, but these ones are the ones that are available at bachelor's level. And I think then we have, okay, so this is supposed to be intake. So we have, there was a mistake on the title over there. So there are February and September intakes, and then you need some documentations that are required for visa are there listed. You need a separate health insurance apart from your travel insurance. You need your tuition deposit. There are no dependent visa. Please know that in Hong Kong. And if you are studying at postgraduate level, for example, you are studying for master's or professional diploma, you're going to need to provide the full amount of your expenses, tuition and living expenses. You're going to need to provide the full amount as your proof of fund. And but for that, you can actually use a lot of different documents to prove that. For example, your salary, if you have any monthly deposit that goes into your account regularly, and you can prove it. If you have a fixed deposit, you can also show proof of regular receivables. For example, let's say you have a building that you are renting out, and then you have proof that you are actually the owner and you're renting it out, or you have some sales turnover that happens very regularly. Those are all things that you can put together as proof of fund. So it's not necessarily just your bank statement. Okay, so this is an idea of, say, international student tuition, and the figure is in the euro. So as you can see there, actually there are a few schools that are lower than this, that are around 3,005, but this will give you an idea of what's maybe generally the situation. And estimated cost of living in the capital city is what you can see there. And like I mentioned earlier, if you are willing to share accommodation, of course, you can cut down on your cost of living. And if you are eating out, of course, you're going to pay more than someone who is cooking their meals. So that's why you see that range as well. Other things are listed there. And I would say if you choose to live quietly, and you're not a troublemaker, and you're trying to cut your coat according to your cloth, not your size, then I would say with less than 400 euro, you can actually survive. And you can work 30 hours per week. So apart from that, there are also there are a number of other opportunities that you have as a student, that you can use your student card when you have one. your student ID will give you opportunity to apply for a lot of discounts, and so you can also take advantage of that. Entry requirements, just a general one, is what you see on the screen. So for foundation programs, you can for foundation programs, you can attend for free as long as bachelor's program. You will not need to pay tuition for foundation program to explore. And what you see there for IELTS, it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. It's only for those that need to provide English test. If you are from an English-speaking country, that may not apply to you. And so you have, I think, science there covers all the subjects that you see down with the star behind them. And another opportunity that you can also have is even if you are from a non-English speaking country, if you go through the interview and you pass, then you may also be exempted from the English test, because the whole idea of the interview is to see how you can communicate in English, your listening, your speaking, if that's okay, because you're going to need that to survive, in your program. So if you're able to show that you have a mastery of the language, then you don't have any problem. Application period is what you can see there. It's from August to November if you plan to resume in February, and it's from February to June if you plan to resume in September. So right now, we are taking applications for those who have plans to resume in September. So if you still want to go in September, then this is an opportunity for you to apply. Now, so these are some of the things that I think are positives about studying in Hungary. You can work while you are studying, you can work up to 30 hours. The average salary will be about €7 per hour. So if you work 30 hours in a week, that means we are looking at about 200 and something euro for the week. So, and then after you graduate, you can get your 9-month post-graduation work permit, and you have the support of the career office to do that as well. And that post-graduation work permit does not enable you to only work in Hungary. It enables you to actually work in any part of the European Union. And I think that would be about 15 countries or so, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a very big opportunity. It means you can move anywhere within the European Union with just studying in Hungary. And then the graduate uptake, I think I've already mentioned that's the rate at which their graduates get jobs is very, very high. They said within 3 months, you're going to get a job. And you can also do your master's tuition free in Malaysia or Thailand with one of the partner universities if you study in Hungary for your bachelor's. And you can live permanently anywhere in the EU later on. And I think I have this. Yeah. So I have this on that. So this is some good to know about studying in Hungary. Spouse, dependent, children, no visa. So please note that. You can go before. The condition before is you come and then you apply. After you get your visa as a student, you can now apply for your family. But now, starting from this month, I think, they canceled that. So now you can no more go there with your family. So it can only be you. There are some age limits that applies to undergraduate and postgraduate programs, but there are also terms and conditions that can help you to wiggle out of that. So it's not a problem. And then after 3 years of working in Hungary, you can apply for your PR for Hungary. And if you have spent 5 years working in Hungary, you can apply for your PR in the European Union. And that will give you access to know all the countries within the European Union. There are some funding opportunities. This is just a general thing, but there are also others that may be based on individual universities or colleges. So, like I mentioned earlier, early birth scholarship, merit scholarship is the most significant of them, but you need to register before you can access it. So this is the process for your admission processing. So let me just say this to those who are already working with arrows. Maybe you have already how do I put it now? You have already engaged arrows for admission in a particular country, and you have paid a consultancy fee to arrows. That covers you irrespective of where else you want to go. So you don't have to pay it twice. It's just once. So we do free credential evaluation for you. You pay the consulting fee, and then institution recommendations will be made to you based on your interest, your course of interest, and your program of interest. And then you need to pay the application processing fee of the university that you're going, if they charge one. Not every university charges that. And then you need to pay your registration fee. That registration fee is also for the university, but it is refundable if your visa is not approved. After that, they will issue you what is called the conditional acceptance letter, and then you will be asked to submit all your visa documentation, and then after everything has been verified as okay, you will be asked to make an advance payment of your tuition. In many countries, this is a tuition deposit. It could be 10%, 50%, 30%. In the case of Hungary, it is 100%. So you make your advance tuition fee payment or tuition fee deposit, whatever name we prefer to call it. After you've done that, you'll be issued what is known as the final acceptance letter, or FAL. And with that, you will be able to apply for an appointment, visa interview appointment at the Hungarian embassy nearest to you. And then you can go ahead and do your interview and go to Hungary. Usually, if you don't have any issue with your documentation or your finance, you'll be okay. You're as good as okay. And I think one of the most important things in dealing with Hungary is the issue of your proof of fund. So please, you need to pay attention to that. You need to have substantial amount shown for your proof of fund in order to get through so many of the hurdles that may show. So these are some things that you need to note. They are very important for your visa application. Your proof of fund is a 6-month bank statement, and it should show 8,000 plus euro as balance. But if you are a master's student or a postgraduate student, it should show the equivalent of the total funding that you're going to need for the entire period of your study. And you will be required to also have passed more than 50% of your study. Your CGPA should be above 50%. Your travel insurance will be required. I think it's less than 500 euros. So, and then accommodation certificate, actually that will be provided to you as soon as you pay and your FAL is issued. You will get a supporting letter for that. So these are the documents you're going to need with others for applying for visa. So I'm back to the announcement I made earlier. Just another reminder for those who came in later. We have these opportunities, a vacancy for a research assistant, and the responsibilities and requirements are there. And also there are opportunities for masters and PhD in instructional technology and multimedia in Malaysia. So if you're interested, you can see the details there. You can book an appointment to talk with Arrows or talk with me, and then we can look into whether you can do that or what you need to do next. Okay. So as I'm rounding up, I mentioned earlier that I'm going to share with you some inspirational takeaway. I was listening to someone commenting on the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure some of us might be very, very familiar with that book. If you are not, I'm going to suggest, if you can, please get the book and read. Get the book and read. It may change your life. According to him, there are about 13 things that are of utmost importance for anyone that wants to be successful. And when I looked at those things that were mentioned, I realized that it is not just about being financially successful. It is being successful at anything. And I decided I was going to share with us here because I know, wanting to go to study outside your country is an endeavor. It's a big endeavor for many of us because of the cost, the huge cost that is involved. So just like any other thing, some of these factors are the things that we need to help us. And it's the beginning of the year. He said desire, like strong, very strong, persistent desire is one thing that you need. Faith that it's going to happen. Auto-suggestion, reprogramming your own mind by the things that you say to yourself on a daily basis. And getting the knowledge that you need to make it work, imagining yourself in that situation already, planning ahead, being persistent, making a decision, and these are all factors that I know can really, really help you and everyone on the call and every one of us. You have this desire, it can happen, it will happen. There is always this that people will tell you, those who have had the experience, they will tell you, if you want it strong enough, you will get it. Sometimes it could be a matter of time. Sometimes it could be something else. So it's a function of what you want and how you want it. So try to make the best of this opportunity that you have. Every time we are talking about those kind of opportunities here. So whatever information you get from here, make use of them, keep them. But most importantly, let your passion not relent. Let your passion continue to be strong and make every effort, plan ahead, plan towards going. Somehow, someday, help will come. So start your journey now. There is no better time to start than now, like I said earlier. Start putting things together, get your passport, get your transcript, apply for, see, transcript alone. I have seen cases where people waited for a year and a half to get their transcript. So if you are thinking, okay, I need to raise money, I don't have money now. When I have money, then I will try to apply for my transcript. I will advise you, don't wait until that time because by then it will be too late. So start now, get your passport, apply for your transcript, get an offer. Actually, even if you don't have money to pay tuition this year, get an offer and start using that offer to look for funding. Because there are so many funding opportunities out there, you need your offer letter to be able to apply for them. So get your offer letter and start going ahead with the things that you need to do. And then, start cheap. Sometimes I also advise people, you might not be able to go to the US or Canada. You might not be able to go to Australia right now, but there might be some countries that are more affordable than that. Go there. The moment you leave home, it's easier to migrate, to move around. The most difficult part is leaving home. So if you have to go for a cheaper country, go for a cheaper country. And then from there, you can move on to where you want. And then finally, there are so many opportunities out there. So take advantage of them. If you just sit doing nothing, it will be very, very hard. And I want to say on our part, on Arrow's part, in supporting you, we understand that things are difficult. And what we try to do even now, for many people, even the cost of getting consultancy is high. We give people opportunity to pay multiple times. You can pay multiple times. If we can do it free, we will do it free. But there are too many costs that are involved. And so we have to also cover those costs. But we say, just how many times can you pay? What can you afford now? Pay what you can afford now, and you can pay the rest as time goes on. We support you even in that way. So please take advantage of it. Thank you very much for listening. And I think that brings us to the end of our discussion this afternoon.